Today, I'm here with Peter Roth. We're going to be talking about small business call centers. Peter, why should people stay tuned to this video?
Well, because of your handsome looks, first of all. I mean, that would obviously be number one. But a distant number two would be because, look, I mean, I think 100 out of 100 businesses that I talk to all need more leads, right? I've never once approached a business owner and said, "Do you need leads?" And they've said, "Nope, all good. Don't need any more of that," right? And I think the biggest thing that, the biggest advantage that anybody could have in their own business is to be able to generate leads at wholesale and to no longer have to pay some middleman their profit when you could just be taking ownership of the entire lead generation process yourself and pay wholesale yourself. That's my why.
I love it. So, I'm going to play the intro reel and then we're going to get much deeper into this topic. But if you're listening, stay tuned. I'm David C. Barnett, and you're tuned in to Small Business and Deal Making, the podcast, YouTube channel, and blog where I talk about buying, selling, financing, and managing small and medium sized businesses while controlling risk. So, if you're looking to take control of your future through buying a business one day, or if you already own a business and you're looking to grow or exit, you've come to the right place. I talk about interesting things, I talk to interesting people, and I answer your questions every week right here. So be sure to hit like and be sure to hit subscribe, and let's get to it. Are you thinking of growing your business or beginning a journey into entrepreneurship? Take a shortcut to success by buying an existing and profitable business the right way. Visit businessbuyeradvantage.com and learn more about my online training, group coaching, and consulting services designed to help you win. All right, welcome back. And today I'm talking with Peter Roth, longtime veteran of the call center industry. And you started off just before we played the intro clip by saying that having your own call center is about controlling the flow of leads, sort of controlling your destiny with respect to marketing and getting the phone to ring or getting people to come into your business. Let's dive a little bit deeper in that, and then I'm going to get into introducing you. So I like because I think what you said was gain a wholesale control of the lead generation process. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, look, it's a story I like to tell, and it's based on the Super Bowl. And I don't watch sports. Very few of them do actually. Am I entertained by? But I watch the Super Bowl because it's also the Super Bowl of the ad world, right? And
Sure, to see the commercials.
yeah, and I'm a marketing guy, so I love watching that kind of stuff. I find it fascinating. And I don't watch the Super Bowl itself, so I wait until YouTube plays all the compilation of all the ads, and I just watch that compilation video. It's like 20 minutes long, and there's a lot more ads than you'd think. And so I watched them all. And this last year, I watched them like I do every single year, and it's like 20 minutes long. And I was shockingly disappointed as to how many of them were even memorable at all. I think out of the 20, I swear to God, only like two stuck out in my mind as being somewhat remotely interesting. And it got me thinking, I was like, wow, these guys have unlimited ad budgets, like tens of
Yeah.
millions of dollars. They're hiring the best of the best Madison Avenue ad agencies that are stocked full of Ivy League grads, right? Best in the world, highest talent pool there is. And that's the best that they could come up with, right? So now I'm thinking, well, what the hell chance do guys like you and I have coming up with better quality ads if this is the best that they can pull off, right? Like zero, right? So why are we even competing? Like, why are we even bothering? Because what I'm finding is, I work with so many different industries, who come to me to want to build out a call center. And the complaints remarkably are really, really similar with people because I talk to them every day. And it's that they're just running into walls using their traditional forms of running of marketing. Nowadays, most people are just doing digital marketing. So there's not a whole lot of billboards and TV and radio going on. Everyone's doing the same stuff, whether it's, Facebook, YouTube, Google PPC, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And they all remarkably have the same pitfalls, which is, just to name a few, ad fatigue, right? And if you don't know what that is, that just means that the audience is sick and tired of seeing your ad because they've seen it too many times, so they're no longer clicking on it. That's 100% happens to absolutely everybody. So the problem there is like, okay, even if you come up with the world's best ad, it's just a matter of time until that gets worn out too. Okay. But that assumes that you came out with a brilliant ad in the first place, which I just showed you is very slim, right? Because if Ivy League grads who work for Madison Avenue ad agencies can't do it, what are your chances? right? So let's say you do manage to outsmart them one time. Well, how often does lightning strike twice, right? What is your odds of getting that, of hitting that same luck again and coming up with another ad? And then again, same argument happens all over again. Okay, well, okay, you pulled it off twice, good for you. And now ad fatigue hits again. So there's that problem. And then the other problem with ad fatigue is that a moment it happens, now your cost, per click or per view or whatever just starts to go astronomically high because people aren't clicking it enough, and Facebook knows that. So then they increase your ad cost because they know that the audience doesn't like it, until eventually they just shut it down if the audience doesn't like it at all. So now you can't scale. Okay, so even if you do come up with a good ad, it's just a matter of time until you're unable to scale it any further because Zuckerberg doesn't want you to. Right? So you just keep running into these problems over and over again. And that's where I have found that, I come from industries where door knocking is really quite common, whether it's roofing, solar, companies like that, home improvement spaces. Door knocking is a very common form of lead generation. I realize that may not be for everybody who's watching this, but hear me out. Door knocking is a very powerful thing because you're catching people away from their computers, aka away from Mark Zuckerberg. Hi, Mark, if you're listening, please don't assassinate me. Sorry, Mark. But you're catching people away from your laptop, which is very important because you and I both know, right? Like anyone who's listening to this, the moment you think about something, Zuckerberg is already showing you an ad for it, right?
Yeah.
So the point is, like, if you're clicking on an ad online, let's say you're running an ad for XYZ widget, it doesn't matter. The moment you click on it, Zuckerberg's already hitting you, serving you up 1,000 other ads just like it. So now you're clicking on a bunch of other ads, and now you're getting multiple quotes, and now the odds of you getting the sale are very slim to none. So you were paying this high dollar for something that you thought was an exclusive lead, and now you're realizing it's very, very far from. So really the best one, if it applies to your industry, that's why there's still door knockers, believe it or not. A lot of companies don't even know that it still exists, but it's alive and well because it's catching people away from their laptops, right? So you're having this captive audience that's not being spoiled by these other competing ads. And the only other way to do that that's scalable, because you may not be out there knocking doors, and how are you going to find a team of people that can? That's a very difficult thing to scale. But what isn't, is cold calling people, right? Cold calling is the digital version of door knocking. And that's where the call center becomes such a beautiful thing, because now you can replicate all the benefits of door knocking, but in a scalable way anywhere in the world.
What you're talking about is you're talking about doing something that gets you away from the crowded messaging that the online channels have become. For part of my business, we actually do letter writing, like we send out letters to people,
Yeah.
and we get a really great response rate from that.
Okay.
Talking about door knocking, there's a gutter company, the cable company for their internet service, and there was a third one, a solar company. All 3 have knocked on my door in the last couple of weeks that I can
Mhm.
remember. And you're right. It gets you your complete attention, even if it's just for a few moments to say, "Look, I'm not really interested," but you actually get someone's attention and you have an opportunity to have a conversation with them.
Mhm.
So let's talk about your background then, because like me, you've got a little bit of gray in your beard. So why don't you tell us a little bit about where you come from in the world of business, and then how you eventually got into the call center uh, industry.
Yeah, so I mean, I have a really colorful background. I'll save you. I'll just fast forward. I've been in business since I was 22 years old. Was when I started my first business. I'm now 49, so the majority of my life has been as an entrepreneur. And the last I got into the home services space 7 or 8 years ago, or whatever. My partner and I started an HVAC company. We did very well with that. For health reasons, we had to sell the business because of his health. We had to sell the business, and so we did well there. But during that experience, he was the proverbial wrench turner, and I was the proverbial white collar guy. And so he asked me, "Hey, Peter, can you build up the sales and marketing side of this business, and I'll handle all the blue collar side of it?" I was like, "Sure." And so that's what I did. I knew nothing about HVAC at all. So I started that business, built up sales, marketing, the whole sales team, everything. We did all of it, having known nothing. I didn't know anything about HVAC. I barely knew how to operate my own thermostat. That's how little I knew. And so I realized very quickly, like, there was a real lack of lead generation options in the HVAC space, especially really in home services, because it was sort of seen as kind of like blue collar. And so a lot of marketing companies just didn't take it very seriously. They didn't realize just how much money was floating through those industries. And
Right.
so there wasn't a ton of options, especially back then. There's a lot more now, but there weren't quite as many back then. And so I had to kind of like wing it. I had to learn really, really quickly. And so I just kind of was thrown into this and had to learn marketing, and quickly realized, I'm like, if I don't figure this out pretty fast, we're not going to grow. And so I had to learn all the stuff. I had to learn, Facebook, YouTube, Google, and, every other form of marketing as well. And it was through that experience that I slowly started recognizing what these problems were that I just told you and your audience about. And that's where I started getting exposure to these problems and realizing what the solution was. So that's how I ended up here.
Okay. And can you walk us through, for example, the how that evolved from that HVAC company into you advising on the build out of other call centers for other people?
Yeah, it started with me not wanting to give away the secret sauce. It started with me, because I put in so much of my own blood, sweat, and tears into learning how to do the call center game, and lost a lot of money, as you could imagine. Like I lost a lot of money, like probably close to $250,000. If my wife was listening to this, she'll be shaking her head. So hopefully she doesn't watch this podcast. But it was bad, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. But I think, like a lot of successful entrepreneurs, I think all of us just learn from our mistakes, right? Because we're too pig-headed to let go and admit fault at any point. I don't think it's because we're geniuses. I don't think it's because we're such strong-willed people. I think it's just we just refuse to admit that we were wrong, and so we just keep going until we figure the damn thing out for ourselves, right? So I don't think there's any genius involved. I think we're just all stubborn pricks, to an extent. And so that's how I got to here. Is I just kept just hammering away at this process until I learned there was no coaches, there was no consultants, there was no nothing. I just had to surround myself with, slowly but surely, I started meeting other call center operators that were in my same industry. And I would just ask a question here and a question there. And I mean, literally like once a month, like very slowly did I acquire the knowledge base. And that's why it took me years. And that's why it took me a lot of losses to get to where I am. And one day I had a friend of mine who owned a solar company here in Colorado. And he was the one that kind of pulled me inside. And he was like, "Hey, I know you're doing well in the call center space. Can I pay you to build one out for me?" And my initial
Mm,
gut response was no, because I didn't want to give away the secret sauce. And then I got to thinking, well, I'm actually not selling solar in my own home state, or my team wasn't at the time. So you know what? Screw it. Let's do it. Let's do it. And I kind of chose to do it because I kind of wanted to see like what would happen if I did do this and what would the process be like. And obviously it turned out to be great. And so now I've realized that I have much more of an abundance type mindset as opposed to hoarding it for
sure.
myself, and realized this was silly for me to hold on to it. And lo and behold, I've always been more of a marketer than I have really anything else. As much as I love operating all these other businesses and have had good luck with them, I really do enjoy the marketing side of things. So I love watching other companies like, grow and thrive and flourish.
So let's get back to square one, because I know that many people, if you say call center, have a certain idea in their mind of what a call center looks like, and you're probably imagining rows and rows of cubicles with people, with headsets talking on the telephone and stuff like that.
In the
Can
Philippines.
you just well, can you describe what a call center really looks and feels like in 2025?
Yeah, it doesn't look like anything. It's all virtual nowadays, right? So, yes, I get it. A lot of people have this misconstrued notion that a call center is a sweatshop in the Philippines, right? And they exist for sure. India, Pakistan, they, of course, they do exist. Those are not the kinds of call centers that I think work best. I can help you with that. We can do that too, but that's really not where I would advise most people to go. We do a much more of like a modern hybrid, more of a modern virtual, rather, is what I meant to say, a modern virtual approach. So it's 100% virtual. You don't need to go rent some office space. There's nothing like that. All the agents are all working remotely from their homes, including the managers working remotely. We predominantly only hire out of Latin America, with a focus on Mexico, but it could be anywhere from Latin America, but 90% of the time Mexico. And I think this will be pretty obvious to most people. It's the kind of the perfect storm, of the place to hire folks from, because you're getting people who speak perfect English, or at least we do. We're getting folks who speak 10 out of 10 fluency in terms of English. And in terms of an accent, very minimal. We're talking like maybe a 2 out of 10 in terms of an
Right.
accent. And as people, well, maybe not everyone knows this, but like 1 out of 5 Americans is Latino. So obviously we don't really notice the accent at all. Like even if there is one, we just don't really even notice it. Americans do have a tendency to hang up when they hear Indian, Pakistan, right? Those accents, they do have a tendency to hang up. So we just don't hire from those countries. I mean, they're cheaper, but you get what you pay for. So we
Mm.
hire from Latin America. Everyone's remote. And so it's extraordinarily cost effective and works very, very well when managed properly, which is what we do.
Okay. And so people are all working virtually from home. You mentioned briefly sort of the same kind of businesses that might go door to door. Door knocking would be the same ones that could take advantage of a call center. What other types of businesses are you seeing regularly being able to take advantage of a call center?
I just got off a call with a guy who's a real estate investor who does fix and flips, and he wants to really, automate that process. We do other real estate investors like wholesalers. That's really, really easy. We've had SaaS companies who do like B2C type SaaS types of things as well. Really, the reality of it is it's such a broad answer to your question. There's so many companies because a call center makes sense in a multitude of, I mean, it makes sense anywhere where a cold call makes sense. Number one, B2C or B2B, anywhere where a lead list can be acquired, which is remarkably easy these days. Like you can get a specialized lead list for a lot of different specialties. So, and if you don't, and if you're wondering if that's possible, just reach out to me, and I can usually tell you in 2 seconds if it's even a
So
possibility. So,
so for to use an example, for a roofing company, you might be looking for a list of homeowners in a given city. Like that's as simple as a list as you're looking for.
it could be. Now we're more thoughtful than that. We're more detail oriented than that. But to answer your question, yes, technically it could be that simple, but we're trying to narrow down and filter with some more kind of intelligent, filters than that. So roofing, for example. So we're looking for homes, like so let's say, for example, we're looking for homes that were built more than 15 years ago, so that their warranty is now expired on their roof. Right. So now
Okay.
they need a replacement and they can't go to their warranty company anymore. So now they need to purchase a new roof retail. So that would be a case. And we're looking for homeowners that are between a certain age. We want them to be between 35 and 65 because people who are, under the age of 35, not likely to answer a cold call and certainly not likely to book an appointment from a cold call. Older ish people are. That's just how they're used to shopping. Older
Yeah.
people are used to they're used to getting cold calls. They're used to having the Kirby vacuum salesman knock on their door. They're used to buying things off of infomercials late at night. They're used to having the ad come to them and they responding in that way. Whereas younger generations do it the opposite way around. They don't respond that way. They go out and look for roofing companies near me. Right. And then they research the companies themselves. So we have to pay attention to, buying psychology and cater to that particular age group that it fits well. So we're mindful of all these things.
So you're talking about, primarily setting up outbound call centers. That person who goes online and puts roofing companies near me, they could end up engaging over the telephone, but they might end up talking to some of the same people, or is it a different typically call center setup for the inbound calls versus the cold calling?
So we can do either. We can do either. We can set up, inbound CSR type stuff too. But our specialty is on outbound telemarketing sales, right? It's for
Okay.
companies that want lead generation, that maybe now are overpaying for Facebook ads or pre-booked appointments or whatever the case may be. And they're paying too much because, of course, you got to pay the marketing agency to do that stuff for you. They got to make money too. Right. And so that's why call centers, like right in the very beginning of this interview, why I mentioned why it's such a powerful thing is because now you get to cut those guys out of other guys, right? You get to cut those other guys out of the equation now because now you own the lead generation process. And David, this is all business owners watching this. You and I obviously own different businesses too, and we're, always dabbling in different things. And this is probably not the last business you're going to be in, and you and I are going to be in a multitude of other businesses between now and the next 10 years. And how cool would that feel knowing that whatever business I want to get into for the rest of my life, I possess the ability to get leads for that business at wholesale at will at any given time with the
Mm.
click of a button because I know how to generate leads at wholesale. I don't have to go figure out because I want to get into business A. Great. Okay, now who do I talk to about getting leads for business A? Where do I start generating leads? Like, nope, you already know how to do it.
So if you're in a competitive sort of keyword business, plumbers in Houston, for example, and you're paying $20 every time someone clicks on your Google ad, and you're closing 1/4 of your inquiries. It's
That's cheap.
essentially
Yeah, if
costing
you're
you.
getting 20, good luck. I mean,
Well
that's great.
well,
Good for you.
okay, so but in that scenario, you would be it would be costing you $80 to acquire each new customer, basically is what I'm trying to describe. And so the way you compare that with a call center is equally you figure out what the cost per lead would be from the leads that end up being generated from the call center, and you can figure out which is more efficient.
Yeah, and it's really, and the beauty is I help all my clients work out that math in advance. So we're going to literally do a full breakdown analysis of what realistically it looks like for you to acquire a lead, acquire an appointment, and acquire an actual sale. So I want to be able to really narrowly, really focus in on what the true cost per acquisition is, or customer acquisition cost, whatever your chosen acronym is. I want you to walk into this relationship feeling confident that your customer acquisition cost is going to be significantly lower than what you would be spending as if you were going out to the open market and paying some, lead generation company to do it for you. I do all that work
Okay.
with my clients.
So when people decide to set it up on their own, what are some of the biggest mistakes that they're making?
Uh, Setting up a call center it's not brain surgery, right? There's only four, maybe five components. The four major components to a call center is the software itself, the lead list. You need a lead list. You need agents, right? And then you need a script, right? Script. Well, any one of these things can break, right? But you need all four of these things. And if you've got a large enough of a call center, well, then you should probably have a manager. Okay, so this one just depends on the size. So look, I just told you what the four kind of pillars are. You can go do
Mm,
them yourself. I can even help you. I literally do help people kind of do the DIY version of a call center, right? Like if you just need leads, I can help you get leads. If you just need agents, I run a full in-house recruiting agency. I can help you get agents for almost any industry. You just need the software. Cool, I'll help you out with that. So like I can help you just set these things up a la carte for very, very little money. I mean, we're literally talking a few thousand, like less than $5,000, $4,000. It's not expensive. Now, so it's not that big of a deal. And you could theoretically just do it on your own, right? I just told you what the four things are, right? So you can go do them. So you can do them on your own, but like, what are the pitfalls? Well, the pitfalls, I think the biggest one is because there's 4 to 5 moving parts at any given time. If any one of them is out of order, if any one of them is not performing correctly, trying to identify which one it is incredibly difficult if you don't know how to run a
mm,
call center. Like if something is broke, all you know is that you're not booking appointments, right? That's all you know. As the owner, you're like, well, shit, I'm not booking appointments, so something is not working well. Okay, but which one? Is it the leads? Is it the dialer? Is it the agents? Is it the script? And your answer is, I don't know. I don't know which one of them it is. It could be any one of them. It could be a multitude. It could be all four of them. I don't know. That's
right.
a really frustrating position to be in when you can't deduce which your problems even are. So how are you supposed to fix something when you don't even know what it is? And so the problem is you just keep perpetuating the problems and losing money. That's why I exist. That's my purpose, is to help identify those, or well, it's to really help you avoid them in the first place, right? That's why you're paying me. But if you come to me after the fact and you hire me as a consultant, for example, which I'm happy to do, I can at least help you quickly identify what your problems are and get your problem fixed in the course of a week or two.
Okay. You'd mentioned the script. Um, let's talk about that. Are like I feel like I can tell if somebody's reading something to me.
Yeah.
Is it really effective to have a script, and do you expect your call center employees to actually read it and follow it, or is it just something that people kind of learn, and it's really best if they just sort of learn to ad lib and get the talking points in and be more conversational?
Both. Yep, it's both. So usually what we do is we always have a script prepared because you need to start somebody with something, right? When you hire an
Okay.
agent, you don't know how good they are. We're always when we hire agents for a particular industry, our promise to you is that we're going to hire agents that are already familiar with booking appointments in your chosen industry. What I can't guarantee is that they're a level 10 or a level 8 or a level 9 player. Like I don't know that, right? I know that they have experience because I can test them, I can vet them, so I can find out if they know what they're talking about and they're not BSing me. But I can't know how great they are, right? So they may start on day number one and not be that great. So to answer your question, yes, it is best to have a script for them to at least get them started so that they have a starting
Mm,
point where they can feel comfortable to learn something. And then I watch them. And then when I decide that, okay, let's cut them, we can cut them loose now. They can start doing their own thing. that's when things actually get even better, is once they have a foundation and a basis because of your script, then at some point you can turn them loose and then they can just start improvising and doing it on their own. And that's when they stop sounding like a robot because they're not even reading anything at all, right? They're just going based on memory. And that's when things really start improving. So there's a bit of a learning curve because what we just talked about, that learning curve can be 2 weeks to 2 months.
Yeah.
But once they make that transition and they become smooth and they've really ingested their own script, then things become really, really good.
Okay. What sort of KPIs are you looking at when you're looking at a call center operation?
It depends on the industry. It radically depends on the industry. There is no answer to that question. It really depends. One industry the expectation could be 5 good quality appointments per day. Another one could be 1 a week. So I mean,
Okay.
it
So
radically differs.
and so you're looking at the results. Like, is there sort of a metrics like how many dials are happening every hour, or how
Yeah.
many
Okay. Okay.
conversations are, like
Yeah.
what? Because I can imagine there's all kinds of data, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
people are using these dialer systems, you could probably see like how many attempts are
Mhm.
made on each number and all that other kind of stuff.
Mhm. Yep. No. Okay. So yeah. That question I can't answer. It still does depend a little bit on the industry. It still does depend on your lead list. But assuming, let's just say, for example, we're in the B2C space and we're calling homeowners, right? Then we should be able to know a couple different things. We need to know what their wait time is. Wait time is, as it implies, it's the amount of downtime between phone calls, right? Like how much time is there between one call to the next? We like to see that somewhere between 20 and 30 seconds. Anything that's faster than that is just burn agents out. It's like too quick and it's just too rapid and they'll just burn out. And then you don't want to go much longer than 30.
Because these telephone agents aren't actually dialing. Like a computer is trying to connect them when they're finishing up a call, right?
Correct. Yeah. The software is managing the entire call center operation. So the software is determining the speed with which calls are being placed. We're using softwares called predictive dialers. And
Yeah.
a predictive dialer, as the name implies, it's predicting how many outbound calls it should be placing at the same time. So, unlike your cell phone, which places one call at a time, a predictive dialer can be placing upwards of 20 or 30 calls simultaneously. So, it's making these calls all at once. And then whoever answers first, it connects to them, it disconnects everybody else. Anyone who was really quick to answer but not quick enough, it calls them back right away. So as soon as we get off this next call, it'll call back the list of people that just barely didn't quite make it. They got disconnected on. It calls them back right away. And so a predictive dialer, when optimized and when dialed in, when a predictive dialer is dialed in properly, it's constantly adjusting its dial rate, or how many lines it's dialing at once.
Mhm.
It's constantly adjusting it, and that's based on the quality of your lead list. So let's say, for example, if you're working with a really hot lead list of people that just, came to your website, right? Roofers near me, right? And they filled out your ad. That's a really, really hot lead list, like organic inbound SEO is as hot as it gets. So that's as good as it gets. So those people are going to be answering the phone, right? They came to you and they're waiting for a call back. So they're very likely to pick up the call when you call them back. So those people are going to answer the phone right away. So the dialer is going to recognize that. The dialer is going to pay attention and recognize, oh, look, every time we make a call, someone picks up the phone. Well, turn down the dial rate. We don't want to make too many calls because then we're disconnecting on perfectly good leads. So turn down
Right.
the dial rate, crank it all the way down to like 2, 3, something very, very low. Opposite end of the scale, let's say we're just cold calling, right? Just shotgun blast, cold calling. Well, now the opposite applies, right? People aren't answering the phone. And when they do, they're maybe just hanging up right away. The dialer is paying attention to all these things. It's recognizing how much time is between calls, how many people are disconnecting, how many disconnected numbers there are. It's paying attention to the length of the call. So if each call is lasting 2, 3 seconds because they're going, don't hang up, don't call me again, right? It can
So
recognize that, and then it speeds up the call volume.
when voicemail picks up, does the predictive dialer still connect an agent to that voicemail, or does it drop that realizing it's not a real person there?
Good question. That depends on the quality of the dialer that you're using. So when you're using a good quality dialer, it's called answering machine detection, AMD. So answering machine detection is actually a pretty advanced pretty advanced technology, and now it's becoming more AI related because it does have to make a determination whether this is a real person or just a recorded voicemail. And you can imagine that 5 years ago the technology, or even a year ago, the technology was very different than it is now. So now with AI, it's becoming far more accurate and can make a very quick determination whether it's just an answering machine. So yes, this is a really important thing because a good quality software can make that determination really fast and not waste an agent's time. Because what you don't want, it can go both ways, right? If it's not good at its job, it'll connect you to an answering machine and now you just wasted a few seconds. Versus on the other end of the scale, if it's not good at its job, it's going to disconnect a live human being who could have been a live lead, and now you just lost a live lead. So having good quality technology is super important for that purpose.
So you don't take advantage of voicemail. You don't try to leave a message that might encourage someone to call back or anything like that.
It depends on your industry, but generally speaking, the results have not been good.
Okay.
No, leaving outbound voicemails, cold voicemails, has not generally been a very productive form of marketing in
Okay.
most industries. Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about this because I mean I've seen strange numbers on my phone and I ignore them. Like I think we all have. If some business owner says to you, I don't like it when all these people are calling me, so therefore the people that I want to reach to aren't going to like it as well. What would you say to those people, who kind of say, cold calling is dead? Uh, is it? I mean, obviously you and your clients are still making money doing this.
No, I mean, look, it's just a percentage game, right? Like, no, of course there's gonna be people who are gonna hang up. Of course, some people are gonna curse at you. Obviously, that's gonna happen. But like I mentioned, the benefits outweigh the cons because simply to put at the end of the month, the point is that the numbers will speak for themselves, right? And as long as your industry is a profitable one and that this sort of a relationship makes sense, then the whole thing makes sense, right? Like then at the end of the month, you have learned that, okay, out of all the hangups I got, the two that said yes outweighed all the hundreds of hangups that I got, right? And so, no, of course, there's going to be people who hang up on you and tell you to go kick rocks, but the goal is you only need a few of them for it to make sense, as long as your business model makes sense, and we'll help together with you help identify that.
What should be the things that someone's thinking about when they're trying to decide between opening up their own in-house call center versus outsourcing it maybe to another provider?
I think outsourcing is a perfectly reasonable thing to do just to get your feet wet, to sort of
Okay.
learn if this is even the sort of thing that makes sense for me. Do I like the model? Can I handle this kind of a volume? Right? There's a few questions that I think that everyone needs to sort of answer for themselves. I will say that outsourcing, it's called a BPO, right? Outsourcing to a BPO center is can be very risky because there's a lot of overseas players that can be kind of fly by night ish, fly by nighty. So I would definitely encourage people to do your homework. Be very, very cautious. Get a lot of referrals, right? If you're talking to a call center based out of India or something, like really, really do your homework. Don't just hand over your money. Take your time. Don't say yes on that first call. Do ask for a good, reasonably sized list of testimonials of people that you can talk to, and pick their brains and make sure that they're actually real. Like, don't just take their word for it, because there are definitely some scammy people in this space because of the amount of people that are overseas. Yeah, do your homework.
I back in my business broker days, this would have been around 2009, 2010. We actually used a lead generation call center, and they were based in the States, and they did not really understand our geography that well, and so they were calling businesses in our province, and they were making appointments for us. What the problem was is they would make a 10 a.m. appointment, and then they'd make a 1 p.m. appointment 5.5 hour drive away. And so very quickly we had to say to them, like, "Stop making appointments."
Mm.
Create, the opportunity for us to call back,
Yeah,
and have a telephone appointment with them. But it was interesting. And now what was we never would have considered that. They approached us, and their whole shtick was that they were just doing lead generation for business brokers all over North America. And so that their agents, understood the process of selling a business, could answer common questions people might have about what it would be like to sell a business, and then ultimately set up the appointment. And they were pretty consistent. I don't know exactly how many people they were calling every week or something, but we were consistently getting 2 or 3 leads a week from them.
that's
So we
great.
were pretty happy with them for quite some time.
Yeah, that's great. And that problem that you're getting with the whole scheduling thing, that's a rookie problem that shouldn't exist at all. I mean, that's just part of our onboarding process. Like when we're kicking off a new client, we're asking these questions. Like we're determining, first of all, there's different types of outcomes, right? There's a
Right.
booked appointment, there's a callback, like you just mentioned, there's a live transfer, and then there's a hybrid of all of maybe all three of them, smashed into one. So there's different ways that you can approach, whatever type of outcome that is you're looking for. And sometimes it's not just one, right? Like you mentioned, a callback is important to you, but sometimes a live transfer works really great. Like, oh, you're interested in selling. Oh, cool. I mean, I've actually got one of my partners is available right now. You got a quick second? I'll transfer you over to him right now. Hang on. Right. Like
Yeah.
that's a live transfer. Like that, those work great. And then you can do a hybrid version where if they say, no, I'm actually really busy right now, I'm dropping my kid off at school. Okay, yeah, no worries. Well, I mean, how's tomorrow too? I can have Steve call you back tomorrow too.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, so just transition. So that way, we just need to know that, right? We just need to know, like, hey, what kind of a model are you working with? And then we'll make sure that all your agents and your manager knows how to set it up. And then we'll just play by your rules.
What kind of compensation plan do most of the agents that you're hiring and working with operate on? Are they hourly wage employees, or they have some kind of bonus for actually creating the leads, and is there something if someone further down the pipe actually makes a sale? Like how are you typically structuring compensation for the people that are doing this?
That's a really good question. I didn't even give you that question. I didn't even feed you that question. That's a really good one.
Mm.
I didn't feed you any of these questions, but no, that's a really good one. No, that's great because that is that's a kind of a delicate, it's a delicate process, and
Yeah.
we like to handle that in house. So there's a couple
Oh,
of
it's a
things.
secret.
No, 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 it's not a secret at all.
Okay.
I'm
All
going to
right.
tell you exactly how we do it. I'm extremely
All right.
transparent with everything. So we agents, like I said, they're from Latin America, generally speaking, and they're making pretty good money, right? They're generally making $7, $8 an hour. That's like double what their non-English speaking counterparts are making. Like a non-English speaking person in Latin America should make like $3, $4 an hour. So they're making
Right.
double. I mean, it's good money, so they're happy with their jobs. This is not a low-level job for people in Latin America. So keep that in mind. But what is important is that for most of these people, this is their full-time job. This is their only source of income. And so they got generally families to feed and diapers to put on their kids and food to put on the table. And every one of them has been swindled by some crazy gringo. Every one of them has been fed some crazy promise of all these high-end commissions on the back end, and they've all been burned. And if they haven't, then their cousin was or their brother was. Like every one of them have been burned. So now what we have found is that like pretty much everyone in Latin America, well, really all over the world, they want that safety and security of knowing that they're just going to make their hourly. They would rather just get a lower hourly than the promise of some big payday at the end, unless it comes with some sort of safety net. And this is how we handle the safety net. So basically what we do is we talk to our agents beforehand. We let them know, hey, look, before they even take the job, we let them know, hey, look, Mr. Agent, we're in the process of building out this call center for your new client. His name is David Barnett. He's having us build a call center for him. He's going to be your employer. He's going to be one who's going to be paying you. David would like to eventually be switching you over to a commission bonus slash, type model. But we understand, and he understands that you got bills to pay and you have important things to take care of. So we're not going to expect you to take that unnecessary amount of risk. So we get it. So what he'd like to do is he'd like to pay you exactly what you're asking. You want 7 an hour? He's going to pay you 7 an hour for 30 days. Okay. But the reason why it's 30 days is this will give you time to establish your benchmark. So you'll know, let's just say, for example, in 30 days, you're averaging 1 appointment per day. Okay. You'll see it yourself, right? You're going to look at your own numbers and see that you've been booking an appointment a day. Well, David's going to come back and offer you $60 per appointment. After 30 days, he's just going to say, hey, instead of paying you hourly, I'd just like to pay you $60 per appointment, which is
Mm.
awesome for you because you already know that you book an appointment a day anyway. 60 a day comes to a little over, it's like $7.50 an hour. So you're going to be making even a little bit more than what we've been paying you. And we're not going to cap your earning potential. So you're totally protected on the downside. You're never going to make less than what you're asking to make anyway. But now you've got unlimited upside potential. So if you can book 3 appointments a day, well, good for you. Now you're making $180 a day instead of 60. And he's happy to
Right.
pay it because you're helping him grow his business.
While the business has turned this into completely a variable cost. It's now
Correct.
worked into the cost of goods sold for each job.
Correct. And they're only paying when you're performing even better. So why would the business owner Be against that idea.
Okay.
And then to answer your
What
question, and then you asked another question, which is like getting paid on the back end. You don't have to do that up front. No one expects that. None of these agents expect to be participating in the back end profits at all. That's pure bonus. So I usually recommend people, identify who your rock stars are. There's not going to be many of them, 10 to 20% maximum. Identify who those players are. You'll want to hold on to them for dear life, right? Don't ever let them go. And then, yeah, have them participate in some back end deals too. So whatever, I don't, whatever it is that you sell, you know your numbers, but give them something. Doesn't have to be crazy. I mean, 100,
Mhm.
200, 400, but whatever, something. And that's money they weren't expecting. And now you got yourself a lifelong loyal employee.
Great, great. So if somebody is going to set up a call center operation, what are some of the unforeseen costs that people might not think about that they might be surprised to have to deal with?
The first 60 days. The first 60 days are the toughest. The first 30 is the toughest. The second 60 would be kind of, still kind of getting your strides. I have found, here's what I tell people, like, look, the majority of what you're paying me is not for hard goods. You're paying me for my expertise, right? Like, you're paying me for what you're paying me as an insurance policy to prevent yourself from failing, right? I think we all understand that concept. But even with that said, I'm not a magician. But what I can do is I can compress my learning time, which took me better part of 3 years to figure out. I can compress that down to 2 months. That's really what you're paying for. Now, I guess, as I said, I'm not a wizard, so I can't I can't make it work in the first few weeks. So I usually tell people, like, whatever numbers you're expecting, cut them by 2/3 for the first month, cut them by half for the second month, and then by the third month is where you're going to start seeing close to full performance.
Okay.
So have a runway, in other words.
And in your experience with a lot of your agents, like what sort of career longevity do they typically have? Is this because I mean I when I think of like a call center, maybe here locally, I think more of a higher turnover kind of environment. Is that what you've been seeing too?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I think, if I were to paint with a really broad stroke, I would agree with you and say yes, but it also really depends on the industry. Some
Mm,
industries are just notoriously harder than others. Obviously I, do a lot in the space of solar. That's, where a lot of my time has been spent over the past couple of years. And solar is tough. Solar is one of the most difficult, models out there. No one needs it.
why?
Well, because no one needs it. You don't need solar. Like if you, as of the home improvement world, solar is the only one that you don't need. Like you need windows, you need HVAC, you need a roof, right? If you have a leaky roof, you can't
I
sleep on
sorry.
that.
I just I find it so interesting how my own mentality varies from the average person that you're describing because to me I look at it as a way to make a further investment with an ROI in a house I already own. So like
Yeah, but you
you
don't
know
need it. But the point is you
I
don't
know I
need it.
don't need it.
There's no solar emergency.
I guess, but power rates keep going up,
Yeah, but
and if you buy your own solar panels, you lock in your own infrastructure. Like
you can
the
come sell
payback
solar
is
for me.
there.
Great.
Like,
Come sell solar for me. You already know what you're talking about. Perfect. You know the selling points. But the
yeah,
fact
okay,
of the matter is this, David, like there is no such thing as a solar emergency.
okay,
The other thing I was joking around with, it's like I'm assuming you have solar on your house. Okay.
they do, yeah.
Well, okay. Well, here's my point. I can show up to your house tonight in the middle of the night and rip the panels off of your roof, and you wouldn't even know that they're gone until you get
True.
your first bill from your power company again. And you went, whoa, 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 where did this bill show up from? And then
Right,
you're like,
you're
honey,
right.
are those panels still up on our roof? Who the hell stole our panel? But it's I can't do that. I can't steal your roof. I can't steal your AC. I can't steal your windows.
True.
You'd notice that
Okay.
pretty fast. There's no so like look, if your roof is leaking, that's an emergency. You need it fixed now. If your AC is out and you live in Las Vegas, that's life or death.
Yeah.
You could die. You need it fixed now. You're going to take the first person who can come out to your house. You're giving them your money. You're not even going to negotiate. You're just like, here, whatever you're charging, just take my money, get it fixed. That does not exist in solar.
Okay. And so tell me, for someone who maybe is tuned into this, if they're thinking, maybe this is something I want to check out or give a try to something like this. Who would you describe as sort of the ideal businesses maybe that could reach out to you and talk with you about looking at their their situation and whether it makes sense to set
God,
something up?
that's a good question, man. I honestly, I really feel like, look, I mean, very quickly put, anyone in the B2C space, almost always yes. Anyone who, where they think that a cold call to a homeowner even makes the slightest bit of sense, and trust me, even if you don't, I can probably show you how it does. That makes sense. Anywhere where a lead list can be acquired, and this is really broad because lead lists can be acquired for just about anything these days, B2C or B2B. Right. It doesn't have to be high volume. I don't want people necessarily thinking that a cold or that a call center is just based on high volume, like where you're going to, got to be calling, 1,000 people a day. That's not entirely true. We can work with much, much smaller lead lists, and you can just have 2 or 3 agents, higher caliber, higher quality people who are just making fewer number of calls. So it's not necessarily a volume thing. So it's a much more adaptable and broad type of a situation than most people would think of. So, or just call me, honestly. I mean, hell, shoot me a message. I'm not trying to hard sell anybody. Like, just shoot me a message and say, hey, I do such and such business. Do you think this might work? I'll be honest with you. I'll just tell you, I'm not going to waste your time. Last thing I want to do is take your money and then you get pissed off and try to charge me back. I want nothing to do with that. Right. Most
Well,
people pay with card to card anyway. I don't want to deal with chargebacks. So yeah, I tell
what
people straight
about
up.
what about businesses where you are trying to build sort of a network of referrals or centers of influence? Like what about someone like I don't know, like an attorney who does business law, for example, and they want to make sure that all of the CPAs and business brokers and maybe bankruptcy trustees or something in their region is hearing from them on a regular basis. Like, could someone like that take advantage of a call center where there's not actually a sale being executed or a lead being generated, but you're just trying to keep reminding people that you're there? Is
That's
that kind
even
of strategy
That's even
applicable?
better. That's even better. Those are the best because now there is no sale. Like you just said it yourself. There's no sale, so there's no pressure. Where there is no pressure, there is no rejection or very little, right? There's
Right.
much less rejection. It's even that's the best, right? If you're in a situation where you're not even trying to sell them anything, you're just trying to get some message out. You're just trying to build a relationship. You're just whatever. Like just, hey, if we ever do run hey, I'm an attorney, and hey, every once in a while, I deal with bankruptcies, and sometimes I need to talk to an accountant. If I ever run across one, do you want me to call you? Whether are they going to say no to that?
Mm.
Right? They're going to say no. Like, yeah, give me a call. Okay, cool. I'll put your name on the list. Like, do I ever? Is this your best number to reach out? Is this your email? Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll let my team know. Yeah, if we ever run across something, I'll just give you guys a call. Like, that's amazing. There's nothing to say no to. Yeah, if you can do that, God, Jesus, that's like a dream come true for us.
Okay. And do you think that would then work for that attorney to help raise their profile or to create, leads
A
and
thousand
business?
percent. Yeah, if you can come up and I would love to help you with that. I love these types of conversations where we can come up with something that's creative that isn't a sale, like you just said it yourself, where it's just a
Mm.
relationship builder. Like, hey, if I run across this type of client, do you want me to give you a call? Right? Like, who's gonna say no to that? Right? I'm
Mm.
not trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to build a network. I'm just trying to build some referral partners. That's a beautiful thing. That's insane. That's insanely powerful. Now, obviously, you need the funds for that, right? Because we're not generating real sales, and so I'm used to dealing mostly with companies that need real sales, real cash flow now, right?
Well,
That's not.
I'll tell you what, sort of in the back of my head is that there's plenty of companies out there who have a budget where they're putting money into Google AdWords or some other kind of advertising or marketing. And if they could create a more effective alternative, just like you described before, how the call center could be an alternative to pay-per-click ads or something like that. If somebody were able to create their own, again, wholesale methodology for creating lead flow in some way by using a call center instead of, I don't know, advertisements in some kind of media, and they could make it a savings. If the call center ends up being cheaper than the money being spent on radio and billboards, and is more effective, then then the goal has been achieved.
Like I'm saying, I love the idea. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I honestly wish I could do all of those, as opposed to having to. It's a lot of pressure to generate a sale, right? That's a
Yeah.
lot of pressure. It's hard. That's the hardest thing you can do is to try to generate a sale. Like, and then booking an appointment is a sale, right? Like I'm always coaching. When I do coaching of agents, their close is the appointment. That's their sale, and it is a sale, right? Like that's hard to convince people to do that. Now, if I don't have to do that at all, Jesus, you imagine the pressure that takes off of people's shoulders, mine and the
Mm.
agents and everyone else's. Yeah, that's brilliant. I love looking for creative opportunities like that where we're not necessarily trying to book an appointment or trying to make the cash register ring. That's beautiful. That's an amazing way to utilize a call center.
Well, this has been a great conversation. I feel like I kind of know a bit about call centers because like 20, 25 years ago, around here, a lot of companies, with the sort of the telecom fiber optic revolution that was happening, a lot of big companies put their back office call centers and stuff around here because real estate and wages
Mhm,
were lower. And so I knew a lot of people that worked in call centers, and then I started to have friends who were like in call center administration and management and scheduling, all that kind of stuff, and they would tell me about, we're talking about big places with like 500 people, and they were talking about like how they schedule things and how they have the demand modeling software for like inbound calls and all that kind of stuff, and they were tying it into the flight schedules of the TV ads because people would like pick up their phone to call to get like the satellite dish for TV or whatever,
mhm,
and so it's kind of cool. It was kind of a neat opportunity to have this conversation with you today to talk about how small business people could do this because
mhm,
literally you could create a call center operation with like one agent if you were a small enough business,
mhm.
and you say once you get to about 5, you kind of then need to really have a call center manager sort of supervising things?
I mean, there's no hard, rules are meant to be broken, but generally speaking, yeah, generally speaking, that's about the number we see. Yeah, it's up to you, right? I mean, you may not have the bandwidth to even handle one. I mean, that's weird, but like, you know, generally speaking, it seems to be around 3 to 5 agents is kind of where we start to see people, coming to us and saying, yeah, I think I want a manager. Like less than three, you can kind of do it yourself, but it really just depends on how much time you've got.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. Peter, if anyone out there wants to have a conversation with you, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, I think Facebook is probably like a really easy way to reach me. And I'll give you my links and stuff like that. But it's, facebook.com/official Peter Roth,
Official
ROTH.
Peter Roth, we connected, I think, on LinkedIn, so I'll put your
Hmm.
LinkedIn profile down
Sure.
here as well.
Sure. Yeah, you can do that. I'll even give you my number. It goes through to my CRM, so at least it doesn't ring me in the middle of the night. So if you call me in the middle of the night, don't feel bad. I won't get it until the next morning. But you can text me or call me at 720-709-2090.
That's awesome. I love people who aren't afraid to put their phone numbers out
And
there.
like I said, it's not my cell. It goes through my CRM, so it's not going to bug me in the middle of the night. So at least I put my little fail safe in there. We're all good.
Awesome, Peter.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a great conversation, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, how can you learn more about buying, selling, financing, and managing small and medium sized businesses? Easy. Go over to my blog site, davidcbarnett.com, where you can learn more about me and how I work with my clients. You can learn more about my books and courses that I've prepared for you. You can find out how to subscribe to my email list, the YouTube playlists, and more. There's literally hundreds of hours of content there, all for free, and I'd love for you to be my guest. Special thanks go to Mark Willis at Lake Growth Financial, today's video sponsor. Mark helps people better manage their personal and business finances through the Bank on Yourself insurance strategy. This is something I've done personally and I've seen others use it successfully for years. Go to newbankingsolution.com to find all the interviews I've done with Mark and learn more about the advantages of these programs. While there, sign up for a free consultation to learn what this solution might look like for you.